Hello again, everyone. Um, One thing we've heard a lot over the past few months is that the reason we keep having to ask for patience and flexibility is because things keep changing by the day and even by the hour. I feel like besides maybe the first week of the mass suspension, maybe, there probably has never been a week that was more true than this week. In fact, I'll just go ahead and tell you this is the second version of this video because I made the first version, and then before I had a chance to make it public, things changed. Um, it's the nature of the beast right now. But So just to review that we have had big news this week. Almost every day, it seemed like, that we began on Monday with the news that Pope Francis has appointed a coadjutor bishop to the Diocese of Peoria, for which we are grateful to God. And what that means is that Bishop-Elect Tilka will, at some point, when it is safe and prudent to do so, will move to the Diocese of Peoria, be ordained as a bishop, and begin working alongside Bishop Jenky to assist him in the governance of the diocese, as well as that the coadjutor has the line of succession, so that he would be our next bishop when the time comes for Bishop Jenky's retirement. So that was exciting news. And then we basically, in the coming days, had a full week of news of just how busy our current bishop and the other bishops of Illinois have been, really working hard for us. Can't stress that enough. So thankful for the leadership of our bishop, that he has been working hard for us to come up with a plan, a good plan, to begin the process. And that's the key word, the process of beginning to reopen things and make things more available again. And coming back to that word process, this whole process is going to take time before we're able to have Mass in the church again, for example. And just a lot of things are going to take time and a lot of work, and they're not going to be back to normal for quite a while. But as of this week, we have we have a path forward. We have a light at the end of the tunnel. We have a clear vision and hope, because it happened then on Tuesday that we received provisions to be able to make the sacrament of Holy Communion, the reception of Holy Communion, available to people to be received outdoors, which still has its limitations, but for the past 3 days, I've been distributing Holy Communion for the first time in 3 months. Thanks be to God. We have much to be thankful for. And I'm going to announce a plan by the end of this video that will involve distribution of Holy Communion for the next week, at least weeks. But things are still somewhat in motion, and I was hoping to announce a more firm plan, but we received some ultimately good news, but complicating news that tells us things are still in motion. So we need to be prepared to still be patient and flexible. So then that was the news on Tuesday. Then on Wednesday, that we received a detailed plan from our bishop, but also from the bishops of Illinois, who it's a beautiful thing that they have been working together to come up with a united plan to go through this process well, and do it with a united front. They've consulted with the governor's office to ensure that that all that they are planning and putting into place is in accord with the safety guidelines, and that's always a situation that we would hope for when, given that both our ecclesial and our civil authorities are essentially listening to the same public health officials and essentially have the same concerns that they could work together to promote the common good. And so that is something to be thankful for. And while we recognize that it's going to be a process that's going to take time and going to require patience, it is so encouraging that we have now a path forward. And I wanted to share with you the 4 guiding principles that the bishops shared with us, because I think they are admirable. I think they're well thought out and well articulated, and worth consideration for all of us, that these 4 principles are what they are putting into account, and I think we should have similar principles in mind as well. So the number 1 principle being that everything possible should be done to provide people the solace of the Church's sacramental life in a timely and reasonable way. So they recognize this responsibility that the Lord has entrusted them, entrusted us, entrusted the Church with the gift of the sacraments, the mission of making this gift for you. And as I said, they've been working hard to come up with a plan to make this gift more available to you. So thanks be to God for that. That is a top priority here. The second principle is important, that the current situation in Illinois remains dangerous and fragile. While much has been achieved, there remains the potential that the gains could be lost by a second, more virulent wave. So we do really have to be cautious, because we have every reason to believe. I know we often don't want to believe, and we will often be tended to listen to the sources that will tell us otherwise, but we really do have good reason to believe that this is true, that there remains a dangerous and fragile situation in Illinois. And so then that leads into the third principle, which is that trust needs to be established, that the top priority in any plan is the safety and well-being of people. And so we cannot take for granted that people will return just because churches are reopened. So even if we were to fling the doors open tomorrow, which we are not prepared to do, but even if we were to do that, that we shouldn't assume that all of our people would come in, because we need to demonstrate to you genuinely, sincerely, that we're prepared, that you can trust that we have made specific arrangements to ensure that the safety and well-being of all, that your safety and well-being, as well as the safety and well-being of the people that you will then encounter afterwards, that your safety and well-being and the safety and well-being of all is well prioritized. And so to take time to have a plan for that, it takes time and effort and work. And so finally, number 4, calling people to exercise faithful citizenship will be key. Each Catholic will need to take personal responsibility for the common good as well as their own safety. I think that's so important, that we need to be all committed to being cooperative with the guidelines that are presented. And we need to understand that our cooperation or lack of cooperation could determine whether these things are still available in the future, and they could also determine the actual progression of the spread of the virus. They could affect that. And so we need to really be on board and to ask everybody to be on board. And I want to just sort of reiterate that, my own personal plea as your pastor, to ask you to please be cooperative with all of the guidelines that are presented, because ensuring that these are being attended to, that they're not being disregarded, but they are being taken seriously, they are being followed, that all of that is what is making it possible for me to make anything at all available to you. And so the continual availability of them may be dependent upon everyone's cooperation. And so please remember that this is a responsibility for all of us, and please do be cooperative. And I thank you for the cooperation that I've seen thus far. So with that, as I said, my intention was to announce a firm plan schedule for this week, and it's clear that things aren't quite firm. And I'll just go ahead and acknowledge right now, because I know that word tends to spread very quickly, especially if one thing is able to happen in one place sooner than it's able to happen in another place, and people get excited, and that you may know or may not that a provision has been made now for Mass to be offered outside with everyone participating from within their car. Now, it is very important to understand that that has been made clear, that that is a condition. That is the only thing that I have been given permission to do, is to offer Mass with you participating from within your car. It's very clear that is a condition. And so in light of what I just said, with cooperation and everybody being on board, please keep that in mind. That's the only thing I am able to offer, is your participation in Mass outdoors from your car. Now, that having been said, given that that is the only thing that is made available so far, then, because that's the only thing we're really prepared to make available safely, there are a lot of complications to that. Believe it or not, although this news did come very suddenly, it wasn't a surprise that this news might come eventually. A number of you have asked me about it. And I have been brainstorming, considering different possibilities, which a lot of those possibilities change and evolve as our situation evolves each day. And I've even since getting the latest news, I've kind of been on the phone for hours with different people trying to look at this from all angles. And the more I look at it, the more complicated it gets. So I have to prepare you that this is not going to happen immediately, but we are working on it. Okay, so as we work on sorting out all of the complications and all of the arrangements, so please be praying. Please be praying for my guidance and for the removal of obstacles. And also know that as of right now, my goal, and that keyword is goal, it's unlikely that I'll be able to achieve an outdoor Mass sooner than this. There's always the realm of possibility that I won't reach this goal. But my goal right now is to try to do this for the first time next weekend, as we celebrate the Ascension of our Lord, which is a beautiful, beautiful celebration in the life of the Church, and so it would be beautiful to be able to celebrate with you more in person on that weekend. So that's my goal, and I say that to you to sort of give you a light at the end of the tunnel, to give you hope that I'm working on it. I have a path forward, but I need to ask patience because there is a lot to work out. Okay, that having been said, so here's the rest of my plans for the distribution of Holy Communion. And right now, these plans for distribution of Holy Communion are to be tied to live stream Masses. If at any point that we are able to do outdoor Mass, that we will make adjustments to it accordingly, but we might try and aim to keep the schedule more or less as it is. So a few priorities about the distribution of Holy Communion, a few notes of sort of what my priorities were in coming up with a schedule that would carry us probably through the next week at least, if not further. everything I said in the video on this Wednesday, May 13th, about how the distribution of Holy Communion works is still in place. The one thing I forgot to mention in the video is that you should be prepared when you come into the pavilion to use hand sanitizer right away, and we'll have hand sanitizer there right at the end of the table, right there at the entrance to the pavilion. So everyone approaches with clean hands, and then also know that that the plan is for these distributions of Holy Communion. They are scheduled to be half hour on weekdays and 60 minutes on Sundays. So for Saturday and Sunday distributions. As I said in the video the other day, what that means is that at the end of that time period, at the end of 30 minutes or at the end of 60 minutes, that the line should stop growing. If there is still a line, I will keep distributing Holy Communion gratefully. Thanks be to God. But that you should plan to be in line no later than the end of that time period. Also then to say that I'm not necessarily recommending that people plan necessarily to receive communion on Sunday. As I said, I want to respect people's desire and to make it more possible, to give more opportunities to receive Holy Communion. But it's not a matter of fulfilling your Sunday obligation for a few different reasons, and so it's not necessarily recommended that everybody plan to receive communion on Sunday. What's recommended is that because we can make this available, that you receive communion when you determine that it's appropriate and safe for you to do so. So some other priorities I've had in putting this schedule together is that, first of all, that we remember that every distribution of Holy Communion is subject to the weather. And so because of that, it's subject to last-minute cancellation as a possibility. And of course, we live in the Midwest, so we know that Midwest weather is very unpredictable, as weather really everywhere is. So we can expect that some of these would have to be canceled. By the way, that's one of the big complications with outdoor mass as well, is that there's no control over how often we could have to suddenly cancel mass and switch back to the live stream format at the last minute. So that's one of the complications as well. But because we could have to cancel a number of times, especially, it is my plan to offer distribution of Holy Communion often throughout the week. It is also my intention and my desire to make these distributions of Holy Communion always connected to a Mass. That is the proper and ideal and preferred situation, scenario, setting, context in which we would receive Holy Communion, is in the context of the Mass. So even on Sunday, when we're not live streaming a Mass, because we would have live streamed the Sunday Mass the night before, that I would probably be coming outside right after I have offered a private Mass. And so because it is connected to a Mass, just to reiterate what I said the other day, that I encourage you to prepare to receive Holy Communion, not only by private prayer, but that private prayer would involve the Mass in some way, either by way of watching a live stream Mass. You might even come at the start of the live stream Mass time and watch it in the parking lot, whatever you choose to do there. But you could have recently watched a Mass on EWTN or Word on Fire, Formed, whatever other sources you take advantage of for those Masses. But finally, if you're not inclined to do that, that I would encourage you to at least look at the readings for Mass for that weekend, and take some time to read and pray with the readings, kind of sort of almost as your own personal liturgy of the Word. So not only will will I try and connect them to Mass, and I'll try and do it frequently throughout the week, that I also want to vary the options that I make available to make some evening options available, because I know some people would not be able to come during the day. That I wanted to preserve our Thursday schedule. I think our Thursday schedule is really beautiful. One of the best things we can do with the live stream format, to be able to celebrate Thursday, the day of the birth of the Eucharist and of the priesthood, with that live stream Holy Hour and live stream Rosary back to back to prepare us for the evening Mass. But in addition, I'm going to add one more evening Mass to the live stream schedule. And then also, I'm going to take the advice of some wise and considerate people who have advised me to work my day off back into this schedule. And so Friday will be completely removed from the schedule. We will still send an email with a link to, there are so many live masses out there. Like I said, you can find one on EWTN, Formed, Word on Fire, other parishes. We might sometimes share nearby parishes, etc. And then finally, before I continue, a note on the confessions. The plan for confessions could continue to evolve, but for the time being, the plan is still to do it in the parking lot, in the cars. But please know, and I tried to say this earlier, and maybe I didn't get the word out as well as I would like to have, that it is available in the pavilion by appointment. So please don't hesitate to do that. If you'd like to set up an appointment for confession, and you would like anonymity, such as going behind the screen, quote unquote, then I would encourage you to send that email to set up an appointment to the parish office email rather than my email, and specify that you would like anonymity. You'd like to go behind the screen. So that having been said, I think I'm ready to announce the current plan, which is still somewhat fluid, but for the coming week. So for the coming week, and this will probably be pretty consistent for a few weeks. But like I said, we'll see what else we can incorporate into it as we can and when we can. But the current plan is Monday. As you may recall, before the live stream and Mass suspension happened, that Monday was one of the 2 days that we offered an evening Mass. So the first thing on Monday will be at 3 p.m., 3 to 3:30 will be the confession time. And then at 5 p.m., we will do the live stream Mass. And then at 5:45 will be distribution of Holy Communion. On Tuesday, we are moving the live stream Mass up to 10:30 a.m., followed by distribution of Holy Communion at 11:15, and then confession again from 3 to 3:30. And then on Wednesday is the exact same thing. By the way, I'm going to put this in writing as well, so you don't have to be taking notes, although you're welcome to if you like. But Wednesday is the exact same thing, 10:30 live stream Mass, 11:15 distribution of Holy Communion, 3 to 3:30 confessions. And then on Thursday, as I said, same schedule as we've been doing, 3:30 live stream Holy Hour, 4:30 Holy Rosary live stream, 5 o'clock live stream Mass, 5:45 distribution of Holy Communion. On Friday, we will have no live streams, confessions, or distribution of Holy Communion. Saturday, confession will still be from 2:30 to 3:30, followed by the 4 p.m. Mass live streamed, and distribution of Holy Communion at 5:15. And then on Sunday, I will do a distribution of Holy Communion at 10:30 a.m. So there you have it. That is our plan. And the fact that it's fluid, the fact that we're now distributing Holy Communion again, the fact that we're working on making the arrangements to hopefully have an outdoor Mass, hopefully by next weekend, to have it in the near future, certainly is my hope. Then hopefully that gives us all some hope, some encouragement. We have a path forward. We have a light at the end of the tunnel. But please know, and just a final word, that this about the outdoor Mass possibility, that 3 priorities for me in my planning are that we can do it safely, that we can do it reverently, and that we can get the word out soon enough so that as many people as possible can participate. So meeting those 3 criteria is a challenge. And so can't stress it again, patience. You all have been so gracious. You've been so supportive to me, so helpful to me, so understanding. I can't thank you enough for how gracious you've been throughout this very challenging time. It's a time that makes me grateful. In the midst of so much craziness, grateful to be your pastor. God bless you.